Yeah, these are quite nice. Back in my day, they didn't even have microphones.
Right. At MAGFest too, we were yelling into cans. No, we just loved yelling into cans. Yeah.
You guys remember the
There's Robert.
the setup we watched Silent Horror on, right?
Bed sheet.
Zabadoo!
Your time is up, my time is now. You can't see me, my time is now. It's the franchise when I'm shining now.
Can't see him.
I demand a performance.
Where's the dam?
Oh,
Does he need a Titletron?
The projector in will be over here. Here, you should. Well, so we'll switch spots. So you're.
No, you're good. Why you're not good?
Well, I don't think it's gonna reach. Stop being. I said to. I mean, really, you should.
Why is
please.
everything with you
like
not
all
long
the
enough?
stuff is right there.
What is happening? Am I moving?
No, you're good.
Okay, great.
That's not what you were saying last night.
I've said a lot of things last night. I didn't mean.
In the cold light of day, we all say that.
New day.
So we're gonna do that again in this fucking meeting.
Yes.
I guess I should sit together and set up another fucking
You got visuals.
I can buy a new one, so fuck.
What is being crunched? Ah.
It's my butt.
Somebody go get Dom.
Butts.
Yeah.
Erotic friend fiction.
Erotic friend fiction.
Here.
I'm gonna fucking whoop your ass.
It says searching.
Can you work this into it?
Are you? Is your display set correctly?
Yeah.
Is it? Are you doing the HDMI?
You see, Brendan's friend, the shirt said chip lust, which
We
means
didn't get. Where is?
You know what? Screw it. We've wasted enough time. Hi.
Hi.
Okay.
I'm Robert V. Aldrich. I am moderating this wonderful train wreck of a panel. And I have with me some of my esteemed colleagues, people of great character, skill, knowledge, and great reverence. What are you doing? Don't. I done touched it. I know how my baby works. I know what she likes.
I know what she likes.
I know what she likes.
I know what you like.
That is true.
Zabadoo.
So we'll step away from that. So the purpose of this panel is MAGFest is fast approaching its 15th anniversary.
Woo!
Which is really quite amazing. And many of us,
Holy crap.
excellent. And many of us have. What are we doing? What?
He wants to hear you on the recording.
Oh, you're recording.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Damn it, I have to sit down then.
Yeah, you don't have to.
So here's the thing. Many of us have been here for a very long time, and our roles and presence here has changed. Who we are artistically and how we relate to the community has changed a lot. And I think it's really kind of interesting, and I think it's worth talking about and exploring how we have evolved as artists and how we have evolved as contributors to the fandom, to the MAGFest family. And I wanted to talk about it, and I have assembled a panel of some of the greatest, brightest, and handsomest in the entire. I was wondering how Steve got up here. And in a nutshell, everybody laughs about. There's the old joke of like, what would you tell yourself 15 years ago? And I thought it'd be kind of neat to actually more or less ask that question at a panel like this. Like, where were we 15 years ago? Where are we now? Where do we want to be in 15 years, artistically and in relation to the community? Aight? Everybody on board with that? Kick it.
Woo! Yeah.
All right. Now, normally this is where I'd show a couple of quick slides of like the first couple of MAGFests, but they're not there, so...
We're going to have to reenact.
Yes.
Yes.
It was mostly a lot of sleeping and drunkenness, and at least once throwing a lot of flour.
Well, here we can queue up a 40-minute documentary on MAGFest 2.
We can, but we're not going to.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we shot
let's
one,
start
so it
first
exists.
with going down the panel. Quickly introduce yourself, who you are, who you were, and who you hope to be. At far end.
Me far end or Tim far end?
The farthest from Robert.
The
Okay,
one
so
I'm
me.
looking at.
Robert, can you
I
introduce
know you
yourself?
can't see me.
I can't
but
see you, so I'm only guessing that it's me.
There you go.
My name is Kevin Flanagan. My role at MAGFest has been both similar and has changed. I used to come here under the auspices of a website that has been dead for many years, but have managed to continue to contribute to the community through similar types of stuff that I used to do, but also through doing improv and being on panels such as this. And I'll talk about that more once we get into the meat of the panel.
You've been to more MAGFests as the former Virtual Fools than you were as the Virtual Fools at this point.
Right. So it's funny to be slightly known for something that does not exist anymore and that no one can have access to unless they use the Wayback Machine on archive.org.
It's kind of like wave theory.
Right. So I know a rival as Wave Theory, and then I have to change that and I have to be like, wait, Alex.
Yeah.
Anyway. So that's me.
Brendan?
Oh, Steve left.
Excuse me. Brendan?
Where the fuck do I even start? Short story. Who was I? I was a guy who went to MAGFest 1. I volunteered a little bit in the game room, and I ran a DDR setup written in Python with Mini Boss's songs. And then MAGFest got canceled, and I called up the founder and called him a douchebag on the phone and got really pissed off and bought it. And then I ended up driving 4 hours.
I'm just winding you up, man.
Oh, Jesus. And then I drove 4 hours from Williamsburg to Roanoke and met up with this guy and a bunch of other people and listened to the guy talk about his ex-girlfriend for an hour and signed a contract and agreed to pay off half of his debt, and MAGFest was mine. And that kind of remained a thing while I learned a lot of things with all of these guys for the next 10 to 12 years. Ish. And then I had to back off because I have a permanent health condition where if I get too stressed out,
TMI.
I break out in hives. Not like I get the shits or anything.
and now you produce some of the finest music. Now you produce some of the finest music being released today.
Yeah, now I'm a chiptune guy. I got really inspired by Vert and a bunch of other people coming to MAGFest, and I kind of got involved in game composing and chiptunes and whatever. So now I'm releasing chiptunes and writing game soundtracks, which is ironic that I have become the guest that MAGFest would once book.
How the standards.
Or that I would have booked at, yeah, I don't. Maybe that MAGFest would have tried to avoid booking, perhaps.
Weiss?
All right. Yeah, let me put some energy into this shit. Play John Cena. Yeah. Play John Cena's theme again.
Yeah.
I'm Weiss. I was with X-Strike. I'm now with Fat Gatsby. I'm not holding for applause, and yeah.
Isn't everyone that was with X-Strike actually was with X-Strike?
No.
No.
Oh.
Nope.
Nope. Some people have
Oops.
disappeared. Yeah. There are ghosts.
Is Chad affiliated with Fat Gatsby?
No.
Nope. No, Fat Gatsby is me, Tim, Dave, Ben.
Yep.
It's 4.
Why is no one on Fat Gatsby actually fat?
I'm not in it.
Ho, 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 ho.
Oh,
That's why
snap.
we couldn't be a part of the company.
Yeah, because it's not self-deprecating. Yeah, we came down to MAGFest 2 and shot a documentary there that was about, about MAGFest as well as X-Strike going to their first convention to show off their first movie. And
what a first movie it was.
That's right.
It was
exists.
a hit.
What's that?
It was a hit.
Yeah, no, went over like really well. I mean, like me and Tim had heard of MAGFest 1 from I think just the One Up Studios forums / the internet when we were listening to more remixes online.
This is back when the internet was small.
Yes. And it was amazing when anyone would, our first remixes of Mega Man 2. Who knew people would do that?
Yeah. Oh my God, you guys are talking about video game music on the internet?
Yeah. And people congregated into a place, and we found it. And I've been to every one since. And now we kind of have morphed from promoting the videos and showing the videos to running around interviewing people and actually doing a little more recording here than because we didn't do any documentary stuff since MAGFest 2 for the most part, aside from maybe like a little help here and there. So now we're a lot more active actually making content, I guess, here. Yeah.
I'm Robert. I was a novelist. I am a novelist. Tim?
There you go.
What year was MAGFest 2?
2003.
2003? Really? Jeez.
Yep.
Yeah, we missed going to MAGFest 1 only because we found out about, and we, I mean the collective, like Western New York X-Ray Studios.
Yeah.
Because we found out about it like a couple weeks before it happened, that there was this thing going down and like the mini-boss are going to be there and the one-ups were going to be there and holy shit. But it just wasn't enough time to plan. But yeah, we started coming to MAGFest at 2.0. As X-Strike Studios with our movie, River City Rumble. I sent a very timid email to Brendan, because he was running the show, and said, like, hey, can we come to your convention and show our movie?
You didn't even ask, actually. You just sent me an email being like, we're doing a movie.
Showing up, be ready.
It's about River City Ransom. Do you think that's cool? Or
Yeah.
I don't know. I remember it being like, I had to be like, oh, and you want to show it, right?
Yeah.
You just thought he was bragging like a little
I mean, at the time, I don't even think we started shooting the movie, and I'm like, where to come show this movie? We haven't shot yet. Okay.
Yeah.
So X-Strike Studios was pretty much intrinsically tied with MAGFest up until the death of the studio, which was basically at this past year's MAGFest, was the last hurrah for X-Strike Studios.
Like every movie premiered at MAGFest.
Except for Snake,
Except
which
for Snake. Well, like
was
there
a
one-
mistake.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, we usually premiered our stuff at MAGFest. We had our biggest fan base at MAGFest. Did our most business at MAGFest, MAGFest, to the MAGFest.
The MAGFestiest MAGFest than ever MAGFest.
Yeah, that involved us doing
MAGFest.
improv, and doing Name That Tune, starting with MAGFest 3 and all this other stuff, and just being a big part of the convention. And then we called it quits with X-Strike, and we are now a podcasting website, which is a lot less work.
Excellent. Over the 15-ish years, because I'm just going to round off, over the 15-ish years, how have you evolved from what you were doing to where you are?
That's what happened to me.
Yeah, this mic.
Dave's messing with the levels back there.
Well, I mean, why are the levels all over the place? I don't understand what the problem is.
Can you
Just happened.
repeat the... Robert, can you restate your sentiment so that I can get it without it being interrupted? Or not
Oh, I'm
interrupted.
very
but-
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Like, Kevin, well, since we'll go back down to the end of the
Okay.
table here, the authoritative end.
Thank you.
You started
I
out.
appreciate that.
I remember, I think at MAGFest 2, one of the first panels you ever did, and I was so taken by what Virtual Fools were doing. You compared it to playing video games to watching like a film festival. And like you said, how come you can go to a film fest, you can like go to work Monday morning, people say, what did you do? You said, I went to this film festival, and everybody's like, that's a perfectly good thing to do with your weekend. Or I went to the library and read all the works of Dostoevsky, because that's a perfectly reasonable thing for a person to do. But if you say, I played all of Final Fantasy VII in one sitting, people would look at you weird. And you wanted to change that perspective. Do you feel like you've contributed to that, and do you feel like you're still pursuing that goal?
Right. So I'll answer that by way of making good on my promise in my introduction, which is to say how what I've done has changed and what I think I'm doing both for a career, but then also at MAGFest now. So when I first came to MAGFest 2, myself and my friend Bobby, who's not here, who we started this website.
He's not dead. He's
not dead. He started
he's
a new
just
job this week, so he
not
couldn't
here.
come. We got in touch with this guy, Phil Maddox, who Brendan knows, and who was privy to MAGFest coming to Williamsburg, Virginia, which is where I was at college. And so we had some stuff related to the website that we thought it would be fun to share. And so we asked Phil, kind of like the email you must have sent to Brendan about, hey, we want to do this stuff. Is it cool if we come do it? And got a good response, and we're able to come and share ideas with people. But at that time, we were undergraduate college students. He and I are a little bit younger than the guys in X-Strike, a little bit younger than Brendan, a little bit younger, I think, than Robert. So we, were just kids, essentially, when we started coming. And then ever since then, we've been doing what you would call kind of intellectually engaged panels about video games. But now both he and I are faculty in universities teaching media. So I teach film studies, and within film studies, I'm especially interested in making connections between other art forms. So the thing you just mentioned about the legitimacy of playing video games as opposed to going to films, when I teach my students, for example, as I did 3 days ago when I was teaching, I draw comparisons between these things and talk about ideas about what's culturally legitimate, how do we forge these connections between the things that we consume? What does it mean nowadays to say I play video games as opposed to, say, 15 years ago? What did it mean to the public at large? So I feel like my engagement's still there, but now I do it for a living. I get paid to do it. I get to teach people to do it, to notice these things, all that. Pizza just went by for those listening at home.
Sorry about that.
But then the other thing that I get to do, that I used to do a lot of improv in college, and ever since graduating, I haven't had a stable outlet. So I was really happy that the improv performance became a tradition, because it was a chance to continue to do that, even though in my life nowadays I don't have a lot of time for it. But it's always great, always a treat. So in some ways it's continuity, but now my role's different. I don't do a website anymore, but I do other things. But I'm still interested in fighting the good fight on behalf of video games. So
you still, like most of the panels that you do, you still bring like a scholarly sort of like critical eye towards at least whatever topics you're kind of bringing. I think like you guys have steadily done that from day one.
And another difference is that whereas at MAGFest 2 we might have been like the only two people doing that, but now we have a whole section of MAGFest that's about that. It's the Mages section, and so we now have 30 to 40 people every MAGFest who do a whole track of panels, and far more than he and I can possibly be on all of them. We are usually on just one or two. But now there's a whole community of people, some of whom just come to MAGFest and just go to that. So we're happy that it sort of found a niche amongst all the other things that go on at the conference.
And in a lot of ways, the Virtual Fools really were the ones who started that, who really pioneered the intellectual track at MAGFest.
Right, and we were looking at things that we saw happening at other events that weren't necessarily video game based, and as we found out later, some people were doing similar types of things, maybe at some anime conventions, but my real thing was, this shouldn't be an academic conference. It shouldn't have that kind of stuffiness. But there are really smart people playing games, thinking about games, and let's try to bring what the people are writing about in these journals and books to what people are noticing and learning on an everyday basis. So the whole idea was like, it can be cool to think about games in weird ways, and let's talk about weird ways to approach games, and maybe develop different vocabulary for it or whatever. But
excellent. Nice.
That's been my contribution, and I'm happy to still be able to do it.
We're glad you're still doing it. Dave.
Hey. Hi.
Excellent. Where were you 15 years ago? Where are you now? And how did you get here?
He was not at MAGFest.
I was not at MAGFest.
Poser.
Where will you be in 15 years?
No.
He was busy rescuing his girlfriend in that movie.
What?
I said you were busy rescuing your girlfriend in that movie.
Yeah, exactly. 15 years ago was let's see. So my main job is I'm an actor, and so what I was so as part of when X-Strike Studios was happening, I was frequently, working, and you can't take time off from that job to go to a con. So I could never attend MAGFest until MAGFest 9, which was here at this location. I think Robert, that's the first time that I actually met you in person.
I'm sorry.
Whoops.
And everything since then has gone downhill. But no. So until that time, my role with Tim and Weiss, who are two of my best friends from high school growing up, I acted in the movies that they made. I felt like my role was more tangential. But it was around 2009 when we were producing our web series Off Campus that I started to take a more active role in the company. I started composing all the original music that starting to fill the shoes of people like fucking Dale North, which feels impossible at times, but since then I have felt more like a staff member, and especially since attending MAGFest regularly and getting to know a lot of people that I'd only heretofore sort of seen or talked to on the internet, and finally meeting a lot of people, attendees here in person, getting to understand the relationship that X Strike Studios always had with its fans, which was something that never really sunk into me, I guess, before. And so now, and now that X Strike Studios is no more, and we are Fat Gatsby, we're audio producers. I guess my role is more to be the sort of lead audio engineer, and I've made a very active point, as Weiss was talking about, of helping to make sure that we get a lot of produced content here at MAGFest. And I like to think of us as ambassadors for MAGFest when we record things. Part of my goal in terms of what we record is to show off the wide depth and breadth of what MAGFest is. When I tell other professionals back home where I'm going for the weekend, I describe it in terms of professional development, and I don't feel like I'm lying. MAGFest is a place where professional composers and video game voice actors all come and share their stories and their goals and their journeys and how they've been successful. And I legitimately learn a lot here that has legitimately helped me in my career. Just, beyond just the goals of Fat Gatsby and podcasting, MAGFest has been a huge help in my own life just in the past 6 years. 5 years?
You know we're not making a documentary to like bring tears to people's eyes and everything, right?
That's trying. So we're recording this panel right now. We're gonna broadcast it. And God, I'm sorry, I haven't shut up.
No, you're fine.
Are you going to turn it
I mean,
into
you're
the
right.
CIA as evidence for something? Is that why you're recording it?
I can't tell you
Okay.
if I did.
That's fine.
So, though my experience with MAGFest has been short, and it's been more since it kind of blew up and got really, really big, I'm grateful for it.
Excellent. Brendan, how are you?
Hi.
Your career has especially had a variety of leaps. Can you tell us briefly,
Can you restate the question?
when you first took control of MAGFest, you were running a convention, and really that seemed to be about it. Now you are producing full albums of chiptunes, and you are friends with the people whom created the original music that you are chiptuning. You are creating original music as well. How, succinctly,
How
did you
is
come
that
about?
different?
How was what different?
I'm saying, is that what you're asking is, how is that different?
What?
I can just say yes. That's what I'm doing now.
How did you come to be doing that from where you were at MAGFest 2 or so?
But you just explained that. They're all the people that I met here.
Okay.
That's why I was confused. It's like you're like, so you went from MAGFest, and then you met all of these game composers, and now you're writing chiptunes and working with the people that you met at MAGFest, and then you stopped. I was like, yeah, I'm doing that.
Okay. All right then.
Next question.
Weiss.
Yeah. All right. So tangent. While Kevin's giving a very heartfelt, intelligent, conversation that you heard on the podcast, what you didn't see was a man who looks like a hedgehog dressed in all blue run after a pizza. Okay. Yeah. I'm describing for the podcast, but I'm just furthering the Sonic comparison here.
Hey, if you want that pizza, you got to go fast.
That's true.
No, it was pepperoni and sausage, but it was very delicious.
Are we going to come back to Reddit, or are we just going to leave it?
I mean, if you want to ask me a question that you're not answering in the question, I'm totally cool with that.
I wasn't so much like I was hoping you would expound on, because you've had an amazing adventure as a career.
So you just want to hear more about the people that I have worked with since and that sort of thing.
How did you first get started in music, in the chiptunes? How did that take place?
I started writing music before I joined up with MAGFest.
I had no idea.
I've been writing music since I was like 12.
That's awesome.
And I've never been good at it. I don't have any music theory. I don't have any training. I can't read sheet music. I can't play any instruments. So I've been using a tracker, which for anyone that doesn't know what it is, it looks like a spreadsheet with a play button. And you like type data into the cells, and it figures out how to translate that into music. So there's this like.
Brendan, can I'm sorry, I want to ask you if
Yeah.
I can interrupt you briefly. I've heard you say that so many times, but you're also so good at what you do. So if you were to have a conversation about music with someone with musical training, do you feel like you guys would be able to still speak the same language, basically?
I mean, I communicate with Josh. He doesn't write music in trackers. He knows what one is, but he doesn't use it. But I can have musical conversations about how music makes me feel. I can have musical conversations about, the types of music or what they're doing with some instrument or whatever.
But I mean, you know what beats
as
and
soon as you're
measures
like,
are, and
sort of,
the
yeah,
major
I mean-
scale up and down, right?
but like if you say, I'm playing like a diminished chord or whatever, like I only sort of know what that is.
Okay.
Like
I only
that's
sort of know what that
well, right, but I mean, like I've taken no classes. I have 7th grade general music as my
right.
class, where they like teach you how to poorly play a recorder. As long as you can do it without it going, then like you're good. That's not really a sound that a recorder makes, but that's the point. So yes, I can have conversations with musicians, but when someone says, "Oh yeah, like this is how you play this instrument," or "This is how you play this instrument," I just kind of stare at them blankly. And it's like I've tried to play all of these instruments and failed.
Well, yeah, I don't know how to play a wind instrument. Like I know how to play the instruments I know how to play, and I feel like you know how to play the instruments you know how to play, which is a tracker.
I thought you were going to say skin flute, but yes.
Don't we all? So I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt.
Okay, so yes, I know how to use a tracker. I've known how to use a tracker for a long time, and there are a lot of people like on online services because we're kind of loosely connected over the internet and whatever. So there's this underground chiptune scene that started as something called the demo scene. If you've ever seen like an Atari do 3D graphics, you know what I'm talking about. But the point is that like MAGFest is actually a place where some of those people will get together. And there was no real, like thing except over in Europe where people would be able to meet up with each other that do that sort of a thing. So when I went to MAGFest 1 and Vert gave his panel on, hey, here's how I write some Game Boy music, I was like, oh, he's using a tracker. He's doing what I've been doing for the last like 10 years, except he's doing it for work. And I was like, oh, and he kind of does video game remixes and originals in this and whatever. And it kind of like inspired me to kind of get back into, remixing game music and doing stuff where I kind of faltered off and just done it as a hobby. But I always did want to like write music for games and that sort of a thing. And he just showed me that what I had already been doing was something that was viable to do as a real job.
Meeting other like-minded people
Right.
spurs you on and encourages you to fucking get serious.
Right. And
That's how I feel every
you
time
know,
I come here.
And so you talk to someone and they kind of mentor you a little bit and say, here's how I did this thing, here's how I did this other thing. And you're like, oh, okay. And then I just plug my existing knowledge into that and it's like, oh, holy shit, I could do this. So as soon as I stepped, as MAGFest went on, I kind of went further down the rabbit hole, met more people that were, doing like music and games and doing it the way I either would do it or that I wanted to do it, and just got more and more information. And when I had to take a step back, it's like, okay, well, I took a step back from MAGFest, and then about a month later, I actually lost my day job, and I was like, well, fuck. How am I gonna, actually recover from this? What am I gonna do? Where am I gonna get any income at all? And I was like, oh, well, I had this idea for like a Nine Inch Nails tribute. Maybe I should do that. And so I did, the entire first Nine Inch Nails album on Atari, Commodore, whatever, and like got to meet Trent Reznor. So that's kind of a cool success story, right? But the point is like if you just do. This is the pizza panel.
Somebody bring me a fucking pizza. Come on. Jesus.
That's really cool.
All right.
I never knew that
But
Vert
yeah.
was that big of an influence on you. That's really cool.
Huge influence because he told me to get my shit together. I mean, honestly, well, and like Dino from Cheap Dinosaurs or Chromelodian or Sprite Slowdown or XYZ band that Dino has been in. He's he's just a musical genius with like a perfect ear, knows all of this stuff and whatever. And like I can hear notes, and I'm very good at translating stuff by ear. But you could play me a G sharp, and I actually don't know what it is.
Well, a lot of
Like-
that is the work you put in too. I mean, that's why the Nine Inch Nails album paid off, I assume.
I mean, I spent like a year and a half on it.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
helps. But yeah, so it's weird the transition from like, okay, I'm booking all of these people at MAGFest and going to their panels and listening to them play MAGFest, and now it's like I'm working with these people, or like Josh Welchel is a good example. We booked Josh Welchel at MAGFest 7, something like that.
Sure.
I don't know, pick a MAGFest that was at the Hilton. And he came, and now he's a guest and whatever. But like recently, he just bounced me one of his tracks from one of the games he was working on. It's like, you want to do a remix of this? And like it turned out to be, it worked out really well. And so like now I'm like, being like, hey, you're a game composer, you're respected. Listen to this, tell me what you think. And we'll give each other advice and whatever. And I'm like in that rabbit hole where like I didn't before. It would be tell me what you're working on so that I can advertise it at MAGFest or something like that. Now it's like, tell me what you're working on so I can like get up in that.
That's awesome.
And yes, I did say it that way for a reason.
Good man.
Yeah, it's not that he said that. He's just eye to eye walking with Tina.
They tell you to look above your audience, so I was looking at all of you.
So
Should I talk about my Nine Inch Nails album?
please,
Please.
Actually, the single biggest question I want to know the answer to is,
okay.
where does the name Fat Gatsby come from?
This is
That was Dave's.
Dave's baby.
Oh.
Dave
was
We'll get back to you. So, you were not allowed to answer that question.
I'm not allowed to then.
No.
Okay.
When you started, what role did you have with X Strike versus what role do you have now with Fat Gatsby?
With X Strike. When we started, I would say like we shared a lot. Like that was the thing. Like it was basically the four of us. It was the four of us that started X Strike, and we were sharing.
That's me, Weez,
responsibilities.
Ben, and Chad.
There we go. Okay, good.
Yeah, I was leaving that for Tim. Yeah. So I mean, the first movie was Tim's, but we were shortly, working on. Me and Chad were working on Ninja Storytime. Off Campus was around there. I think we were filming the Parappa teaser around that era. So
Silent horror, that was
Silent
the
horror.
next big thing.
Yeah. So everybody was kind of like getting to be behind camera and getting to be editing. As for like ways that MAGFest had changed what was going on, I think one of the biggest positives it had on X Strike, while I was thinking, was it gave us a deadline. It gave us a hard deadline, which, we would set deadlines for ourselves, but we really didn't have to hold up to those. But MAGFest happens, and we have to have something to show, and we want to be proud of it. So that definitely got everybody sort of into gear.
It lit the fire under your ass.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like when we started, I felt like a lot more like I was just going to be production side. And I guess, soon as we started getting more and more panels, like that became the bigger role, and definitely, at the table as much as anybody else, and running around doing pretty much, I guess like anyone who was staff with X Strike was kind of doing very similar kind of thing. And as for Fat Gatsby, I feel like my role has definitely diminished at this point, because kind of Tim
There's
and
a lot
Ben-
less role to fill.
Yeah, well, it's like Tim and Ben are the ones that have the places that we can record well at. We can record other places with decent audio.
Yeah.
But if we actually want to sit down for, especially we do triple radio over at Tim's. We do any kind of like Robot Brains or Friends of Weiss. I try and do over in Ben's basement. So at this point, I'm more like, if I have an idea for something short, it comes out, like a lot of writing, but I guess more on the talent, quote unquote, side of that. And definitely, like, I was in charge of marketing for X Strike, and obviously that did awesome.
Great job.
Yoo-hoo! Everyone knows who we are. But I'm not doing that for Fat Gatsby. Like, I'll be sort of in charge of social media every once in a while, but that's about it. So that is definitely diminished.
Fat Gatsby is very laid back
It is very laid back.
for so far compared.
You.
You.
Same question.
Okay, I got.
Same question, but I want the answer in remedial Spanish.
All right, so it's a good thing you don't know Spanish.
Como se dice?
Yeah, so when I first started coming to MAGFest, it's weird to call myself a director. I had just directed my first movie. What? A couple of dicks. I had just written and directed and acted in and edited my first movie. I had some acting experience prior to that, but I was still pretty new into filmmaking. I was not really schooled in doing that, and I was learning a lot on the way. It's interesting, I think, to look at where video game filmmaking was at MAGFest and in kind of the greater internet fandom community in general at that time. Because when we brought our movie to MAGFest, we were the ones who brought a movie to MAGFest. There was not anyone else at that time until like MAGFest 4 or 5 at the latest that there was any other filmmakers bringing stuff to show at MAGFest.
What I like to say is this was 3 years before YouTube. To
Yeah.
put that into perspective. So
Yeah, it was 3 years before YouTube, so there was no like centralized location for hosting your videos for people to see. The only other people out there we could really find doing video game stuff was Mega 64.
but they were always doing short stuff while we wanted to do long. Yeah.
But the thing is now, MAGFest has an entire film festival for video game related films that Chad runs.
For the whole weekend, and they get that much content.
For the whole weekend. And it's so funny because like right when that started as like a big formal thing was right when we stopped having things to show.
Pretty much.
We had at that point tried to make the move to more short form videos to try to get out there on YouTube and go viral. And we weren't doing the feature length stuff so much anymore, or even like 30, shorter stuff at that point. It was very short, like 10 minutes tops. So definitely like the video game filmmaking community is leaps and bounds and like actually exists now, whereas it did not at MAGFest 2.0. Like we were the video game movie guys at MAGFest for many years.
Yeah.
And now we're just like another podcast website that happens to be awesome.
Yep.
But
Yes.
there's many people out there doing podcasts because it's an easy thing to set up and do, but I think it's not necessarily an easy thing to do well. You have to have good content that you want to present. You have to be able to present it well, to
And
speak
you do
well.
have to have something in, even though everyone has a podcast, you have to stand out and do something interesting so people
be
listen.
entertaining, have good quality on your recording. I mean, a lot of people can just get by with a USB microphone, but we have a pretty decent setup for recording things. But it's, we started doing podcasts with X-Strike, so now it's been kind of nice to concentrate on that with Fat Gatsby, and it's really helped, I think, with, my public speaking and just being able to host and direct the podcast and speak clearly. And
When we have gone back to like early podcasts.
Holy crap. I was coming back from MAGFest 2 or MAGStock 2, and I went there by myself because I had to go because I had to get that computer that Rez built for me and get it back to Western New York. And on the way back, I was dying, and I was listening to some old X-Strike podcasts, and I listened to X-Strike Studios podcast number 1, and I was like, woof. Woof.
So thanks for listening.
Yeah, I mean, if you think there's a quality disparity between like River City Rumble and like Resident Horror and like the last things we did with X-Strike, you go back and listen to that first X-Strike podcast and compare it to like what we do now, and it's insane, the difference.
So we're running
So
short.
Robert, how about you as an artist? Like, how have you come along since MAGFest 2.0? Because you were just, at that point, everyone at MAGFest 2, you have to understand, was a caricature to X-Strike Studios.
Yeah.
Like Eric Ruth, who's out there, and he's showing off his game. He couldn't be on this panel.
Yeah.
It's a good game.
And he was DJ Potato. He was this crazy character, DJ Potato. And Robert was the guy who wrote that anime novel. And
You did what?
he wrote that anime novel. He taught, and there was more than just that. But that was like,
Right.
I don't think we really started hanging out and talking to you
No.
until MAGFest 3.
Yeah.
Well, half the time, like, yeah, we met a lot of people, but because we were filming that doc and like that was so much of our time, like we really saw everyone through the lens and sort of afterwards.
But you're not writing so much, like specifically marketed as anyways, anime novels anymore.
Yes.
So what's up with that? And there was a while when you weren't really writing too much.
That's really what I want to talk about. So my writing career moved in about the regular trajectory most authors go through, which is complete poverty. From 2000,
All artists, really, not
Yeah.
just all, like anyone, if you want to do things creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From about 2001 to 2009, I was publishing novels, publishing works online, and also trying to cultivate this quasi-academic standpoint, because I really was inspired by Kevin and Bobby's work with Virtual Fools and their later work. And then torrenting happened. And a friend told me about a torrent of one of my novels, and I found out we were able to tell how many times it had been torrented down and how many people were seeding it. And I found out my book had been torrented more than it had been bought. And I broke.
Yeah.
And so I went on.
Yeah, we never got numbers on like the pirated torrents of our
Right.
movies, though we know that's how we got one of our biggest fans.
Well, for us, we were in that spot where we wanted more people
Yeah.
to see it than we needed them. Like, exposure was more important to us. That was marketing money, so that wasn't like a bite.
Yeah.
I mean, we put that documentary on torrent.
Yeah.
Actually, Brendan put that on torrent.
Yeah.
I think.
I'm with
I
you.
insisted because it needed to get out there, and there was like YouTube was not in a state where they would let you upload more than 5 minutes of video at that point or
Right.
something. And then they increased it to 9, and it's still 10, but they'll make you a partner like with a snap of your fingers.
So Robert, anyways,
I went on a year-long hiatus from writing because I really couldn't handle that many people were stealing my book rather than buying it because I wanted to eat. Because I also graduated. I went to college really late. I didn't go to college straight out of high school because I didn't want to go to college, and I really
That's a
put it
good
off.
move.
Yeah, I really
Yeah,
put
you
it off as
probably
long as I can.
smart.
So I graduated right when the complete bottom fell out of the economy. And so it was that perfect culmination of everything. And since coming back to writing in 2010, I kind of threw up my hands about publishing because my publisher also was driven out of business by totally not Amazon, and it's not their fault. Please don't kill me. And so I was releasing everything online for about 2 or 3 years. And then Manny Camacho with Haven Publishing talked me back into publishing. And I've been trying to restart my online writing. And anybody who's been following Teach the Sky, which I assume is everybody in the room, just lie and make me feel better.
bookmark it.
I've been kind of having all these false starts trying to re-get some footing on trying to find a good online medium for literature, because in 2002 and 3 when I started the website, I was inspired by webcomics. They are not the creative force that they were a decade ago.
No.
And so it's been kind of a trial period to find a way to disseminate literature online, but also going back to the books.
I love that you use LiveJournal.
That,
Do you still?
oh God, no.
Oh, I thought you were public. Like, when was the last time? Because I remember you using that for a long time.
Yeah, I like the LiveJournal interface. I do. It's a
okay.
terrible website, but
Yes.
I like the
Oh, yeah.
interface a lot. You could do a lot more with it than you could with WordPress at the time. WordPress
Right.
has improved considerably.
Yeah.
But no,
Okay.
okay. We need to close up quickly, but I want to go down the line here and go back to Kevin. Where are you going with kind of in relation to fandom with the MAGFest scene? Like, where do you see your efforts over the next 15 years? Not necessarily 15 years from now.
Woof.
Where are you looking to move, kind of intellectual / artistically?
Well, I've, my main, I guess you would call my main research and main academic work is still not video games, and it probably never will be. I mean, I study film. I'm a film historian. That's when people ask me what I do, that's what I do. And I mainly teach cinema and literature, but I have opportunities in my classes to talk about video games and to make comparisons. So what I feel like I'm doing is being somebody who can, over my lifetime, continuously legitimize video games as something that people should pay attention to. And I know that generationally, I've already seen shifts in how students regard things. I think video game playing and knowledge is much more every day than it was when we were in college, for example, or when we were like 20 years old, 12, 11 years ago, whatever it was for whoever of us are that age. But I'm not necessarily, I don't have a real plan other than to just keep being an advocate for the art form, to keep paying attention and playing. Paradoxically, I think I play more games now than I did when I was 17.
Lucky.
I play more games. I try to make time for it because it's important to me. It helps me relax, makes me think, makes me happy. So keep with that and, continue to have the friendships that I made at MAGFest. Hopefully keep attending as long as it's easy to do and, as long as I don't have to fly from Antarctica to do it, I'll try to be here.
Excellent.
So.
I don't care where you're going over the next 15 years. Just what the hell does Fat Gatsby mean?
We were throwing out names that were mostly
check your email right
sciencey.
That's where the thread was.
We were throwing out names like secret password, end transmission, Vocadex Labs, password labs, the lost remote, secret Cipher Labs, hacking mini games, secret transmissions, stuff like that. And so in parallel to all we were throwing
I think
out
there was
dozens
some
of
Chrono Trigger theme suggestions.
There-
in there.
yeah, probably.
Backwards
were.
Lab was in there. I think.
In parallel to that, I was trying to think of a name that reminded me of Louis C.K.'s Pig Newton, something that is otherwise kind of meaningless, but has a nice ring to it. And so the first thing I threw out that made me laugh out loud the first time I said it was Ford Porous, and it's a car made out of a sponge. And I know, right? I think that's funny.
We're not called Ford Porous.
And then I said Fat Gatsby because it's got that same kind of the first syllable rhymes. It's only 3 syllables long, and it's just kind of a fun name. And again, as soon as I said it, I thought I can see the character. It makes me think of old time radio. We're a podcast. It's kind of perfect.
See, what was funny is like you threw that out there as just like hey, this is funny. Let's find something like this, and we're all like, no, that's great.
Yeah, I was so surprised that everyone else liked it. I was like, wow, really?
Yeah,
this is what we're Fat Gatsby. Like, everyone's, wow, okay.
Like, it had pretty easy branding in our heads, as Dave kind of said. Like, we all had very strong images.
Cool.
And then Hex did pretty pictures for us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brendan, where do you see yourself moving over the next decade and a half or so, ideally?
Ideally, I will be doing what I'm doing and actually being able to eat.
Excellent.
And running Iron Chef still, of course, which means that I'll be able to eat sort of, well, kind of, for a slight period of one day out of the year. I've just got I'll randomly get ideas for albums and tributes and whatever, and I hope I can just get around to all of them, and I hope that maybe rolling royalties for from streaming and that sort of thing will build up to the point where I'll be able to just relax, sit back, and be like, okay, I'm going to tackle this off of the to-do list and try that and see what people think about it. And I would really like to be there. Right now, I am writing Sega Genesis dubstep for games about poop.
Awesome.
And,
Multiple games?
One game,
Oh, okay.
but multiple tracks.
Okay, cool.
And you know what? I'm okay with that as long as I get paid. And I mean, it's it's a cartoon game. It's really funny and whatever. So I'm cool with that. And so I do hope that along with all being able to knock shit off of my to-do list, I can do stuff like that and just not have to worry where utility bills are coming from the next month and whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my ideal outlook. As long as I can do that and be gainful about it, not extremely gainful, just comfortable, then I'll be happy.
Cool. All right, I will aim this at Dave. It's Dave, right? Excellent. Dave, Weiss, and Tim.
Dave, that is your name, isn't it?
Where do you see Fat Gatsby going?
Fat Gatsby.
Fat Gatsby. Where do you see it kind of going, for you you individually and specifically?
It's
Tim, fearless leader.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We were just doing that because we wanted to, keep making stuff and have fun and not have it destroy our lives.
We need the
So, like,
outlet, but a lot
yeah.
of. I mean, like
The initial
Dave and Tim
juncture,
have kids.
our initial
over each other,
juncture,
guys.
our initial like venture wasn't like we are going to make the biggest and best, most amazing podcast site on the planet. I mean, we did, but that wasn't the goal, and not everybody knows that yet. But that's not important because we want to maintain like whatever small but dedicated fan base we had, get stuff out there for people to listen to, and just have fun doing it.
Yeah. I think having that outlet is necessary for me creatively. I think even though we haven't gotten to do as much fiction versus nonfiction stuff, we still have a lot like sort of in the pipeline, a lot of ideas for, and just like having it there of just, if you're just sitting and you have an idea and just being like, oh, I can do that, and then other people can see it. And not just, we're in the era where you could just put anything up on YouTube, but still having like a branding sort of thing and an umbrella to foster it under is a lot stronger.
As long as the point at which Tim has 2 more kids and decides I'm too busy to do this anymore is the point at which I'll stop, because it's only because you guys are so passionate about wanting to do this and do it without the self-consciousness of worrying about, we're going to put this out and people are going to think that it's shit or whatever. Because
We
I
don't
think
worry
I'm-
about that.
No, I'm. If it were just me, I'm too
If
self-conscious.
you put out
about
shit
that.
on the internet and no one listens to it, is it still shit?
So like, as long as I have you guys like really being gung-ho about giving me this outlet to be creative, I'm hanging on to you guys to keep this going forward and
That's good
helping
to know you have no
introduce me
motivation,
to all
Dave.
these wonderful people that I wouldn't know
Christ.
otherwise.
You can see who's carrying this company. Nothing's changed. That's why you don't have X-Strike
Nothing
anymore.
ever
I would say, at least for my part, I am trying to figure out how to be creative in the post-X-Strike current fatherhood world, whether that means more podcasting or more writing or joining the legion of YouTube video game streamer commentator people. We'll see. And Weiss, you've been writing, so
Yeah, no, I mean, personally, I'm trying to get more back on the loop of, especially this year, of actually being paid for things like video editing and writing, and taking a lot of big steps in that direction. So, however that can loop back around to MAGFest, I don't know per se, but it's certainly, in the 15 years, it's still all about the people. That's why we go to MAGFest. So I guess my MAGFest goal is to keep in touch with everybody. That's my main goal.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't have time. We don't have time for
And
me to
Robert,
answer,
we have
so
time for Robert.
I'm going to write the hell out of some of the best books ever written. So, yeah. I really want to thank my guests, Kevin, Dave, Brendan, Weiss,
Robert,
and Robert B. Aldrich.
thank you. Thank you.
Guys, MAGFest has been a dream, and it's like a family, and coming here has been like a family reunion, and it is every year, and it's a delight, no wonder, and I want to thank my guests. I want to thank you guys for being here, and hopefully this is just the first 15 years for us.
Yeah.
Have a good MAGClassic.
No, thanks.
Wow.
Bye.
Like I'm thunder and lightning. Ain't no way you breaking me.